everyone. This is Harriet Patino from University of Kentucky, and I'm specifically going to be talking about College of Agriculture, Food and Environment. Firstly, I want to apologize. I cannot keep my video cam on because it's raining heavily out here. Although I had this perfect plan of having this, a webinar with the background being a small garden, but it's a flop show right now because of the rains. However, I know a lot of you have interest in agriculture, food and environment, but a very less number of students really understand what agriculture, food and environment really encompasses and what it really means. So I'm just going to breeze through every section very briefly. And if you have any questions thereafter, feel free to, just put your questions in the chat box. Okay, first of all, agricultural sciences. Now, the term agricultural sciences, you have to understand that agriculture, okay, with nature plus the science, which happens to be technology driven right now in 2020 and onwards. When these two things merge together, we come across agricultural sciences. Now we have agricultural and medical biotechnology, animal sciences, equine management, and there are so many programs that come under this. But my main highlight would be equine science and sustainable agriculture. Equine science is all about, horses, the study of horses, which also what I'm going to brief you about has some connection with animal science. So remember, when you are dealing with animals in general, you're not just dealing them, but then they are also used for, athletic purposes, wherein equine sciences jumps in, right? So horses are used not only for farming, but also for, race course, racetrack. UK police still, and even police in New York, they still patrol with horses, right? So to have those kind of horses, what is the study, right? The fodder industry, meat industry, racetrack, as I've given you an example. So holistic study is done in equine sciences or animal sciences in general. Along with sustainable, I'm a big advocate of sustainability because it's very important. And now year 2020 makes us understand why sustainability is very much more required than ever before. With sustainability, let me give an example. I'll give you an example of Chicago. When I visited Chicago once, there is a building over there which is known as a waves building. The building is shaped in the in how the waves form in the ocean. If the swiggy lines, the building is actually shaped like that. And there's a reason why it is shaped that way, right? It's not just an architectural, a piece, but it's also a reason of sustainability. So that building was consuming a lot of electricity, and the ACs used to run 24/7. So to cut the direct sun rays in order to reduce the AC power usage to 50%, they created those slabs in the wave formation. So when the sunlight hits, because of the wave formation, the rays get divided into two. So the building warms up really less and the AC consumption goes lower. So that is one, very modern reason of sustainability. But then there are many examples of sustainable, even with agricultural sciences. Moving on to, Bachelor of Science programs into business and social services. Now, yes, agriculture, technology. Just add business to it right now. So when we talk about something like agricultural economics, in today's world, we have millions, actually billions of population across the globe. But have you ever noticed with everything that's developing, our agricultural lands are still the same, ratio of land, right? So how do you produce a lot of these agricultural crops or, vegetations, everything in that small piece of land? How do you grow so many variations for, the rising population? There comes your agricultural economics to understand, okay, how will I do it? Will I have a vertical garden? Do I need to, bifurcate the land and have multiple different, produces done on that land with different kind of soil combination? There is science and math in agricultural economics. Talking about hospitality management, tourism, a lot of people, when they talk about hospitality, they're stuck with only hotels, resorts, and kitchen. Yes, it's a part of hospitality management, but there's a lot more to study in hospitality. Have you ever heard about luxury brand management? these big brands like Louis Vuitton, Rolex, Prada. Yes, these are big brands, and there are certain clientele who only go and would purchase these brands. So how are you going to manage those kinds of clients, right? Those clients are not price tag driven. They are more of quality. They are more of season. That's why we have these summer season, fall season, autumn season, collections every year, right? So how do you cater to such clientele? This is also part of hospitality study. There's sports, there's sports spa hospitality, there's sports hospitality. There are so many different kinds of programs under hospitality. So do explore that. Um, let's move on to the next one. Environmental sciences. Yes. So agriculture is done, science is done, and business is done. Now let's focus on the environmental sciences. Now nature does not change for anyone, right? But we, as rising population, keeps changing it as per our convenience. We want modern buildings, we want skyscrapers, we want to build a bridge. So we do all of those things, and somewhere in that pipeline, we, sort of harass the entire environmental system. So even if we've done it, and even if you're going to plan doing something else, how can we better do it without interfering with environment? So the best example I can give you right now is forestry over here. It's not only a study including science when you're studying forestry, but it's also it's an art. How are you going to preserve a natural forest? If a forest is gone, how do you bring it back? The animals, forests are not just trees and plants, but also the forest life, the bird life, the species. So how do you do it? Australian bushfire, if you've been reading about it in since December 2019 till almost Jan end, the bushfire was like really, really brutal, and more than 50% of their species and all that forestry is gone. So how are they going to maintain it now? That's when the role of those students who have studied or people who are working in forestry comes into play. Also, natural resources in environmental science, again, we keep on extracting natural resources, right? Gas, coal, this and that and everything. So how do we have that balance? When do we say, okay, fine, let's not use the coal for right now, let's switch to gas. Okay, let's not use both and let's switch to wood. Let's not use all these three, but let's come up with something with solar technology, right? So when do you make those decisions on those transactions? So natural resources and environmental sciences will encompass all of these things as well. Health and food. Now, health and food, when we talk about it, it's just like nutrition and yes, your regular food. Yes, but also with nutrition, remember every need of every individual is different. My protein intake will be very different than your protein intake. My nutrition level, given my gender, my age, my body mass index, all of it will be so different than yours, even if we are of the same age and same background. So when you talk about human nutrition, let me give you another example. If you go to the store and if you pick up any food item, when you turn it over, there is this list of ingredients mentioned over there, right? Carbohydrates 0.3, saturated fats 3.0. You have all of these listed down. Have you ever thought, yeah, it's pretty to see all these ingredients and the nutrition value and all of it, but how do you extract these information? These are decimal mathematic formulas over here. How do you extract that? So human nutrition and food science is based on that. Baby food, right? They have these formula foods for baby, which adults, I'm sure nobody likes it, but babies do like it because their taste buds are not developed yet. So but to make it healthy, to make it safe, how do you work on those kind of food items? How do you ensure that it matches the requirement of that particular age when that baby is consuming these foods? So these are few of the examples when we look at dietetics, human nutrition, food science. Let me also inform you about one of the students I knew who had done food science studies, and when he graduated, he started with just reaching out to potential clientele, and he used to give them a proper meal, which is breakfast, lunch, and dinner included with some snacks. These clientele come from bodybuilding section of the society, so their nutrition value the way they want to eat something, the protein is so different, right? And they can only consume a certain level of food intake. They cannot eat like how we eat normally. Sometimes I consume food like 6 times a day. Sometimes I just have like one lunch and I'm done for the day. Bodybuilders cannot do that. So he was just focusing on a business aspect of reaching out to these clientele and making a pre-prepped meal, including all of these nutritional values and all of it, and then supplying it to them. He had only about 12 clients in a year, and that's all he ever did. So yes, with all of this, you need to have business side of it, because you can study all of these great programs, but if you don't know how to make business out of it, if you don't know how to make profit loss, then there's a problem. With agriculture, food and environment, remember it is a lot of science based study. It's more technical, so that's why you get a bachelor of science program, and with that you are open to getting into pre-med, pharmacy, dentistry kind of studies. I see a question being popped. Let me just check. Okay, all right. I'll just answer all the questions at the end. Okay, these are some of the master's and PhD programs we have. You will see a lot of these programs that were there in the previous slides are not right now over here. That's because every college, in regards to master's or PhD, depending what is available, only that will be shown. So these are some of the interesting programs on master's and PhD. I won't be talking much on it. College research operations, yes. So every department that we've shown on our slides will have their own center, will have their own labs on our campuses, because all these studies, when we talk about science and agriculture and the business aspect of the particular program, you have to do a lot of practical hands-on training. You can't just do a journal, and you can't do a class theory wherein you're just talking about agriculture and talking about vertical gardens and how to make business out of it. You can't be hypothetical. You have to be in classroom. You have to go out and do your projects. You will have to go to forest and know the species and learn about them if you want to get into forestry. So yes, all of these things, all of these labs, even with food sciences, I gave you an example about how you can differ between nutrition value and carbohydrates and so on. But how would you really know? How is that application done? That is something you will learn in a research operation. And yes, our research operations are open to students on undergraduate level as well if you want to get into the research side of the study. What's so special about this college? Yes, the special as for me is the whole education system, because it's a lot of practical hands-on. But yes, along with that, we do have a lot of internships and service programs on campus. And internships, however, are required by all degree programs. Service programs can be optional, but again, it will depend which major you're taking in. If there are some majors wherein both of these will be a high requirement. These are required because of a holistic development. We are not just teaching you a classroom or a hands-on practical, but why are we doing that is because we're trying to make you world ready. So when you go out and you start with your first job, you don't have a question mark. You know exactly how it's to be done. You know to ask the right questions if you're stuck. So all of these things, study, classroom study, internships, project submission, services programs, all of this will be taken care while you're on your undergraduate level. Also, our advising committee, our counselors on campus, they keep a track of everything that you do from day one till the last day of your undergraduate program. That is because we know that as a student, you're going to keep changing. Today, you like something with sustainability. Maybe the next year, you like a little more of business studies. Third year, it can be something else. Also, there might be some programs that are not available on our campus, like you want to do some certificate program that will value add to your major, for example. We will tell you, okay, you know what, you can do it online, or you can go to this different institution and try to get a certificate program. It can be everything and anything, and we encourage students to please be vocal with your, counselors on campus. Even one-on-one faculty mentorship, though we have a class size of 17 to 25 students, depending if it's a theory or a practical class, our professors know each and every student by their first name. Yes, the pronunciation is a mess sometimes, but they will know you by name, because they keep a track of what are you doing in classroom. Are you trying to hide behind your classwork and not be, present in front of everyone? What do you have? Even the small challenges, which can make you a holistic student. They will keep informing your counselor, and then we, on campus will start working with you. Oh, there's one more, scholarship program. So yes, international scholarships are there, but I just want to cover it up by saying that we have scholarship right from $3,000 up to 50% off on tuition. These are three different scholarships for international students, and all three are stackable. So in case if you apply for scholarship 1, 2, and 3, and you get 20, 30, and 40%, we won't ask you to choose between the best. We will stack all of that 20, 30, and 40 together and give you a scholarship, provided you have a good GPA of 2.5 and above. SAT, however, is not required for admissions, but for scholarship, yes, we do require it, and the SAT score needs to be 1200 plus. Higher your GPA and higher the SAT or ACT scores, higher your chances are with scholarships.